So I'm not sure if I'm even supposed to be making this video. But once upon a time, because I knew my child's father since we were 11 years old, we were teenagers, we got together when we were 16. Apparently, my dad had secretly given my child's father, who was black and a teenager at the time, his Freemason handbook. Now, to this day, I always ask him, why did you give him your Freemason handbook? Didn't give it to me, didn't even give it to my older sister. So my brother, he's actually Black Ops Navy SEAL, and my dad and him would write letters to each other. So him and my brother already are in the know, but I noticed how he kept my mom, me, and my sister in the dark. And you gave your Freemason handbook to my high school boyfriend, who was black at the time, which made me realize that whiteness is really just an illusion, and that male privilege is greater than your race. And it made me realize why people of color have not gotten the proper reparations. Number one, it's because males are in charge, and the males are only negotiating and doing deals with the other males, which means the YT males and the black males are forming an alliance and making deals, not including the woman. So basically, I guess my dad felt some form of white guilt because he gets drunk and he gets emotional. And I guess he felt like, you're black, let me give you this Freemason handbook. Which is ironically funny because my child's father is now using that same Freemason handbook to ruin my life and try to take my biracial child from me. And it's working. And I asked my father, why did you give him that book to this day? And he says, I don't know. And he just plays stupid, which I know is a lie. And I even asked him, like, is there any way you can help me? You know, if you're involved in the Freemasons, I mean, can you call someone? Don't you know someone that can help me? And he claims he hasn't been involved in over 20 years. He has no connections. He knows nobody. But you passed on the book, I guess, because you felt that was a form of reparations by letting him in on the knowledge and the secret society that YT males have been dominating. So here's another part of that deal. Here's the reparations that YT males gave to men of color, because you damn sure didn't give any type of reparations to people as a whole, and definitely not women, okay? So because YT males have raped a lot of indigenous and women of color throughout history, naturally, men of color were angry about this. And they wanted to be able to do the same back. They also wanted to have access to those same clear women who in the past would get you unalived for even looking at them. Those same clear women who were unaliving biracial children, they wanted the power to be able to take those children from those YT women. They wanted to have the ultimate power, the same way a white man has power over his wife and his family. The men of color wanted that same power over the woman in general, including women of all races. That's a part of the deal. Their own women and also YT women, because it's only fair. It's only fair that if YT men have raped and enslaved and trafficked and unalived so many women of color and indigenous women, it's only fair to let men of color be able to do the same. So instead of, if women were in charge and making negotiations and deals for reparations and the betterment of society based on what happened to people of color, right, and indigenous people, there would be much more logical and reasonable outcomes. But because this is a patriarchy and males are the ones calling the shots, YT males basically gave them that deal. That's why you have Playboy Cardi making lyrics like, I feel like OJ, I feel like Kobe. Why would he say those specific people? Because OJ was probably one of the first men of color who got away with unaliving a YT female. And Kobe was one of the first men of color to get away with graping a YT female. So those incidents right there were dog whistles that, hey, YT men and men of color have made their little deal. YT men said, hey, you can have the same access to money and woman and the same oppressive powers that we do. And hey, we'll even let you unalive and great YT women as well, the same way we did. It's only fair. And of course, this deal was just good enough for men of color. They want the money, the hoes, the clothes, I suppose, the fame, the fortune, the same access to the same things that YT males do. Meaning they also wanted to be oppressors. They wanted to partake in the same degenerate activities. And they do. Because according to a YT male, if a YT female is dumb enough to not know her place and to go wander off with a man of color, then she will pay the cold toll. She will pay the toll and she will get what she deserves, according to the YT male. This is why I've dealt in so many situations in the last few years. I'm not saying this is something that's been going on. It's something that has gradually transpired over the years. But even police, judges, YT males, if you are a YT female and you get in an interracial relationship with a man of color, YT males are not going to help you if something happens to you. They're gonna let it happen. That's a part of the reparations. That's a part of the equality. Although it's not equality for women, but it was equality, quote unquote, to the men of color. Now here's the thing, men are still men. They're highly competitive. They don't like each other. They're not communal the way women are. So they're not even good friends to each other. They're not. They fuck each other's wives. They compete with one another over who's better. They're not communal the way women are. They don't communicate. They try to one-up each other. They're not about equality, okay? They're always in competition with one another. So even if YT males formed this fake alliance and gave men of color this false sense of power, because at the end of the day, Diddy, Young Thug, a lot of males who are men of color, even with money, fame, and alleged power, they still end up in the prison industrial complex. So YT males trick you, make you believe because of your male privilege and patriarchy that you guys are one and the same, because they know you're going to take the bait, because they know you want to oppress women and hurt women the same way they do. That they know that's what you want. It's too easy. But of course, they're not really an ally, right? Because males are always betraying each other and undercutting each other. So it's not a genuine alliance. YT males are always going to feel like, I'm better because I'm YT. YT supremacy. And of course, men of color are always going to feel different and better than YT males. They don't really like each other. Even males who are friends don't really like each other. They're not really good to each other. But when it comes to making money and making deals, they'll form an alliance for some type of strategic purpose, a war purpose, a business purpose. But make no mistake, they're still in competition. They're still at war with one another while using us women and children as their casualties. So now it's these groups of men, also Asian men as well, who are all competing over who is the most rich, who is the most powerful, who owns the most land, who has the most resources, who has the most control. Regardless of race, that is what all these men are competing for their community. This is how their communities are going to level up, by hoarding the wealth in their communities. And in order for males to hoard wealth, they need women. They need to be able to reproduce and have children and have a woman to do a lot of labor for them. That's why every president had to have a first lady. That's why Coretta Scott King was behind the scenes doing majority of the work for Martin Luther King. That's why FDR, his wife, was actually the one doing majority of the work. It's like that. It's the wife is the backbone. A lot of males know they can't be successful without using women to do so. So even though YT males and men of color obviously have a disposition against each other, listen, in the 48 Laws of Power, sometimes it tells you an enemy makes a better alliance than a friend. It's sad that men rather oppress women than actually do the right thing in society for humanity. All of these governments, whether they're in the United States, whether they're in Afghanistan, whether they're in Africa, whether They're all trying to oppress women.